My name is Niamh Potter, a little bit more from Dublin Zoo, the second one from us here. So my name is Niamh Potter, I'm Discovery and Learning Manager at Dublin Zoo, and I'm here with my colleague Kelly Mara, who's Discovery and Learning Team Lead. So we might get Kelly just to say hello there.
Hi everyone.
Right. We're going to be talking about a project that we did in collaboration with our BIAZA Ireland regional group partners. So I know I can see a few more of our partners in the audience also. So hello to them, we'll be referencing them throughout as well. So today we're going to talk about a project called STEAM in Junior Cycle, which is a secondary school teacher professional development initiative that the BIAZA Ireland regional group have been working with since 2017. So in particular, we're going to focus on adapting this project to online, as I know many people will cover kind of moving to online last year with our BIAZA Ireland partners, Tayto Park and Galway Atlantaquarium. So what we're going to cover today is a little bit of background on the STEAM initiative that we worked on. We're going to talk about adapting it for online delivery in 2020 and 2021. And then we're going to look at sort of the benefits and opportunities of that and some of the challenges that we encountered along the way. So first of all, just in terms of terminology, we are going to be referencing junior cycle throughout the presentation. And this refers to, so for anyone who's not aware, this refers to first to third year in secondary school, so approximately equivalent to Key Stage 3 and 4 in the UK, just for reference. So this project initially came about because of a major reform of the junior cycle curriculum in 2015. And because of that reform, there was a series of professional developments put in place to support teachers with this transition to the new curriculum. So one of the things that was put in place was a support service called Junior Cycle for Teachers, or JCT. And this is a service made up of secondary teachers on secondment, and their aim is to work with the teachers through hosting professional development workshops and initiatives for school teachers. So one of their initiatives was the STEAM in Junior Cycle project. And basically what that is, it's a nationwide elective CPD initiative for secondary teachers. It's a partnership between JCT and education outreach partners in STEM and the arts. So this is where BIAZA comes in as one of these partners. And it would be alongside a host of other organizations representing a really broad range of interests. So obviously conservation from ourselves, sustainable energy, space exploration, art and design, development education, etc. So how it works is in collaboration with JCT, organizations hold STEAM workshops on a range of different topics based on their expertise. And this acts as professional development for teachers who are interested in engaging in societal issues in their classrooms. So we're tooling them with the expertise to bring to the classroom. So the organizations like ourselves and BIAZA design the workshops, and then you get support from the JCT group to make sure that their curriculum aligned and accessible for teachers, etc. So then it's hoped that by doing these workshops, teachers are then equipped to teach and talk about these particular societal issues, and that this would have an impact on their classroom practice and then obviously on students' learning as well. So STEAM days are aligned to curriculum specifications, typically science, geography and home ec, but basically open to teachers and across all subjects. So, and you would have a lot of science teachers, but a range of teachers from all subjects in attendance. So I'm going to pass over to Kelly now, who's going to talk a little bit about kind of the STEAM initiative through the years and the different topics that were covered.
Brilliant. Thank you, Niamh. So in relation to the workshops that we've carried out since 2017, there have been a number of face-to-face, but also virtual ones as well. And like Niamh was saying, these were big collaborative efforts between the BIAZA Irish network. So they involved Galway, Atlantaquarium, Dublin Zoo, Photo Wildlife, Tayto Park, also Secret Valley and Dingle Ocean World. So we've all been involved in some way over the different workshops during the years. And the great thing about this was it's a very collaborative effort to design and deliver them. So in the face-to-face, they would have been delivered at our respective venues, but recently we've adapted them into a virtual setting and they would all have the same content. So in our first year, the first theme would have been the conservation of ecological biodiversity with a focus on food chains and webs. And this would have been carried out and delivered by Tayto Park, but also Galway, Atlantaquarium and Photo Wildlife. Dublin Zoo didn't take part that year because we had our discovery and learning project going on at the time. The following year, we looked at the theme of plastics and marine litter, and this is in particular looking at oceans and sustainable materials. The next year, we looked at biodiversity, both on a global and a local scale, and highlighting species in Ireland, which teachers really found very relevant to their classrooms. Following that, we actually adapted that particular workshop into a virtual setting, and we were delighted to do that because that was the particular workshop that we'd received our BIAZA Gold Education Award for in terms of our collaborative networking together across BIAZA Irish networks and around conservation education. So we're delighted to be able to turn that into a virtual setting, and we'll be focusing on that for the session today. And following that, the one that we are currently working on with Galway, Atlantaquarium and also Tayto Park is the value of nature, which we are hoping to explore in spring 2020 with our secondary school teachers. So why did we switch to virtual? So we've probably all guessed that COVID has a big impact, and we had 3 workshops that were face-to-face, but since COVID has hit, we have changed to virtual. So the reason for that is we were contacted by the JCT team in summer of 2020 when it looked like COVID was going to be with us for a while. They asked us if we were delighted, first of all, that they contacted us. We are very happy because they gave us the opportunity to look at our biodiversity workshop and translate it into a virtual setting. So it just meant adopting the activities to make sure they would work well online. We're also really, really excited at the opportunity to re-engage with schools. At this stage, we had in all of our venues had several months of closures due to COVID, and we didn't know when we were going to be able to re-engage with our schools and have them back on site. So it was a chance or an opportunity to talk to these teachers and highlight the work that we were doing behind the scenes and how they could come back into us in the future. So we got together and we were collaborating all across winter of 2020 into 21, which was also a way for us to survive lockdown a little bit more with colleagues and collaborating in that way. So we redesigned our workshop from being a face-to-face into a virtual setting, which we'll look at in a moment. So our virtual workshop took place in March, so mid-March at 7 p.m. at night time on Zoom. We decided to open it to a maximum registration of 150 participants, basing that we would have about a drop of about 30% that might attend if they did sign up. We actually had 102 register for the event, and that meant we had 73 in actual attendance on the night in March. So Niamh's going to lead us through a little bit more of the attendance and what we found out.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about in terms of lessons learned now, a little bit about the benefits and the opportunities that came from the project. So as you can see, one of the first benefits was the high attendance when we moved to virtual. So as Kelly mentioned, we had 73 in attendance, which was much higher than the face-to-face that would normally be in kind of around the 30s. So we also had a wide geographical reach. So at the workshops we had, you can see kind of attendance there from all around the country. We actually had 15 counties from around the country represented, and from all north, south, east, west, and people who would be coming, from areas that maybe they wouldn't be able to normally travel for a workshop. So that was a really huge benefit for us, both in terms of numbers and wide geographical reach from our organizations. Other benefits then, it gave us an opportunity to model kind of virtual teaching and online activities. At the time, some schools were open, or some years were remote teaching and some were teaching in school. So it came back in the feedback that teachers were happy to get some more ideas of online lessons and activities they could do, and then also things that could be adapted to face-to-face afterwards. So it was great to be able to contribute in that way when people were sort of working in emergency situations. It helped us, as Kelly mentioned, have ongoing links with schools. So yeah, as at the time we had closed, I think our second or third closure for a number of weeks. And obviously in that time, you don't want to fall off the radar of schools and teachers. So this was a great way to keep ourselves having links with secondary schools, in the hope that would then, when we were reopened, transfer into more visits and more engagements to our venues. Give us an opportunity to develop our skills. We, at that time when we had signed up, we all had dabbled in some ways in virtual lessons and doing different engagement projects and stuff virtually. But at the same time, it still was more learning for us. I know at Dublin Zoo, we hadn't done a huge amount with adults at that point, just little small bits here and there. So, and in terms of teachers. So it was great to see again, to develop our skills of what worked and what didn't work in a virtual environment for teachers, and we can continue on with that now with future virtual events and workshops. It was great in terms of collaborating with our regional partners. So obviously this whole project since 2017 has been a collaborative project with our BIAZA Ireland partners, but it was great. This was the first time where we could deliver the workshop sort of all together. So that was great in terms of a unified message about the BIAZA vision and our work. So that kind of we felt that had a big impact in terms of us all delivering the message together in the workshop. And then also in terms, as Kelly mentioned, staying in touch while we were closed. It was nice we had very regular meetings about developing the project and all that. So it was a great way for us to stay in touch with each other and kind of share ideas of what was happening in our organizations at the time. And then lastly, then a host of practical benefits, really, I suppose, in terms of cost. Our only cost, I suppose, would have been our time. You didn't have sort of printing or venues, refreshments, travel, all those kind of things. So that was a benefit for us. It was convenience, both for ourselves and for the teachers, and that I think we would have been seen in the attendance. So we could, rather than sort of having maybe full days or weekends devoted to it, we were able to do it in the evening. We could have our normal day's work, and the same with the teachers could have their normal day's work, and then have the workshop in the evening. So very convenient in that way. Environmental impact, this came back also in the feedback, and we had kind of noted it ourselves that many of our participants would or could typically travel by car to events. So there would have been, in terms of rather than lots of travel, sort of just having the event online had a huge reduction in its environmental impact. And then our time also, and the time of the teachers, again, it was easy just to kind of jump online for the workshop, and that was a much reduced time. And then also physical space, we weren't limited in terms of sort of the size of the rooms we had or the size of the venues. We could have as many as sort of would fit on a Zoom call basically, and we could see that again in the knock-on of kind of our high attendance numbers. So lots of really positive outcomes from taking part in it. And Kelly's going to take you through now a little bit about some of the challenges that we would have met along the way.
Thank you, Niamh. So as Niamh has highlighted, there were loads of benefits to going into a virtual format, but there were also some challenges that we needed to be aware of that we've learned from as well since. So see that these are some of the main ones that we had. So in terms of translating that biodiversity workshop into a virtual format, we found that in terms of our teaching methodologies, some activities that we knew worked really well and were tried and tested in face-to-face just wouldn't translate very well into a virtual format. So there was some compromises that had to be made in terms of what we did or did not include in the session. There were also some technology limitations, as we probably already know. And so it's usually much easier to fix things face-to-face and in person than it might be with technology. So in terms of Wi-Fi or broadband issues on our end or their end, we were very lucky on our end, but sometimes there might have been webcam issues on the participants' end. It didn't really impact too much, but it's something to be aware of. Trickier to see all your participants on little screens as well and understand the engagement and how we're getting on compared to face-to-face and visually seeing them. And the other limitation was nearly forgotten ours now. So yeah, their comfortableness in Zoom. So if they were happy to be on camera and to use audio, and if they had used it quite regularly before, because some teachers had not. The other level was how much they engaged. So it's a little bit more difficult sometimes for people on screen than in person. You can't make those kind of connections and links with one or two other people and stick with them for the day. So that can be a little bit more daunting for our participants. So it's the reason why we got them into breakout rooms quite quickly, so they feel like they had connection with other people in the groups. The other challenge that we found was showcasing our venues. So there was a missed opportunity for people to actually come in and visit us and see our collections, our classrooms, understand what programs we offer, which may have translated into follow-up school visits. So there's a little bit of missed opportunity there as well. We also found we had shorter time. So with going into and out of breakout groups and setting up activities and making sure that they understand the tasks there, we found that we had shorter time available to us using the virtual setting. We also found that we needed more staff. So we know that if we were face-to-face, that we would be able to read the room a lot easier. We'd be able to watch the body language. We'd understand when you set up a task or group work, if there are some groups that need more support than others, and they can probably get our attention a lot easier as well. So we felt that we needed to have 5 or 6 participants per breakout groups, but that meant we needed to have staff to be able to go in and spend enough time with them in those breakout groups to make sure they were on task, they understood what was going on, and they felt that they had kind of an expert in the room to help them if they needed support. And then as well, there was a missed opportunity for informal discussions. So usually when we're coming to a setting, you might be there 10 minutes beforehand to make friends or to make connections with us or other teachers that you might stay in contact with and make those links. So you didn't have that before or during on little tea breaks or afterwards. So there definitely was missed opportunities in terms of the informal nature of face-to-face. So despite all that, we had lovely feedback at the end, which the JC team carried out for us. So we found that lots of teachers had really enjoyed the session and found it very relevant to the classroom. They gave us top scores. And we found that they had were inspired to do actions in their classroom as a teacher and in their personal life. There was tons of other comments as well, one of which was that they really look forward to the BIAZA event in particular each year, and that they had enjoyed it being in a virtual setting and it was a bit more accessible to them. These were some of the other pieces of feedback too. They had a better understanding of biodiversity and our workshops in our different venues. They had used polls and breakout rooms before as a teacher, but it helped reinforce the value of it, actually taking part as a participant with them. And they saw the value of the cross-curricular nature of the topic as well, and not just relegating biodiversity to ecology, but across a range of different topics in science. So lots of great feedback that we were very happy to receive.
Great, thanks, Kelly. I'm not sure, Andy, how we're doing from time, but overall, yeah, despite some of the challenges mentioned, we were very happy to take part in moving the STEAM initiative online, and it was great that it could stay going despite the challenges of COVID. As Kelly mentioned earlier, then when we were approached whether we wanted to continue this year, we jumped at the chance to stay involved again, and we were surveyed at the end to see if people wanted to do virtual or online, or virtual or face-to-face, and it has been decided that it's going to go ahead virtually again for another year. Potentially we'll go back to face-to-face again in the future, but for now it will stick to virtual, and we're delighted to be involved, and we're back planning again. We actually have another planning meeting tomorrow, and back getting ready for spring 2022 for our Value of Nature workshop. So yeah, that's all about our presentations. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time.